Hi, everybody. It's Tim Hagan from Progress Coaching, and thank you for joining. I'm not going to have the video on the whole time, but I definitely want to walk you through a very cool procedure and process that we teach and we work with clients on. And the whole idea is to teach how to reinforce our training. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of background on us, but I'm going to dive right into the content. If you have not been on my webcast, I really encourage you to get ready. That sounds theatrical, doesn't it? But I go fast. I teach a lot. I hate webcasts with, you know, the subtleties, the concepts, and then they spend more time selling you their products for, you know, with pricing. I'm not going to do that. I did send out an email at about the halfway point. I'm going to do a little bit of an infomercial that relates to this topic, okay? And I think that's a fair exchange. So I hopefully everybody thinks that's cool. So as you see me look down here every once in a while, I will be checking the chat. And we will get going here in a second. So let me give a little bit of background. Some of our clients, I've been teaching coaching now for 21 years. And I would also tell you that some of our clients include GE, Summerfest, the world's largest music festival, Bayer, Monsanto, the Milwaukee Brewers, Credit Union National Association, General Electric. And I would tell you the reason I think coaching is so invaluable is two things. So I have a rule, you have to participate, which I cover on the next slide, is about 20 years ago, I was on a stage, and the reason you see this microphone at the bottom is I was on a stage with the VP of sales. And we used to do sales, customer service training, things like that. And this gentleman got up and started to talk about, literally with profanity, mind you, that we have to get our customers up against the wall and make them sign contracts. That's the position we're in. And he's being totally serious. So I started laughing on a stage in front of 200 salespeople. And all of a sudden I realized, you know what? No matter what I do, what I say, everything I'm about to do is going to be discounted because it all comes down to that manager. And the head guy is literally telling people to physically put customers up against the wall because they're in dire straits. I was shocked. That's the day I made the decision. I will not do stand-up training unless managers are involved because that relationship between managers and employee is sacred. So that's my foundation. We teach coaching. That's our expertise. So some of our clients give us a little bit of validity. Let's get into the content. So I have a rule, and I'm going to turn off the video right after this rule. When I ask you some questions, I expect responses. So if I ask you to put in some numbers and things like that, or whatever the case might be, I want you to respond. If you happen to think I'm funny, put in an LOL. If you agree with me, put in an amen or a giddy up. If you disagree with me, put in an oh, come on. Now, I will be checking the chat box in Q&A. Here's the cool thing that we do. I will export the chat and the Q&A, and I will export the registration. What you said that why did you want to attend or what's something you want to get out of this. I'm going to then do a follow-up presentation in addition to this webcast, speaking directly to your issues. I do not mention your last name. I do not mention your company. But I might say, you know, Becca had shared that she wanted to know how to do XYZ, and I will give a solution. I will get that to you in the next week. Fair enough? If fair enough, put in a Y for yes or no, and we will get started. Awesome. If I see one N, I'm going to log you off. All right, let's get started. I am going to turn off the video, as good looking as I am on video. So I'm going to turn that off, and we're going to get started. So the major suggestion I have is this will not be linear. Please keep this in mind. If you're an instructional designer, a training leader, this will not always be linear. We cannot always have things go in the progression that we want, especially when we're dealing with managers who need to coach, okay? So the point being is I want you to think about that you're going to have to think about the components. I'm going to come back time and time again and talk about components. So when we think about components, I'm going to give you those pieces. So part of that is, thanks, Anna. So before we get into that, I want to just give you a quick illustration. This is not a paid sponsor. These are friends of ours. A lot of you are Chief Learning Officers. If you have not been to a Consero conference, please check out January 2020 at the Biltmore Hotel. I was not paid to do this. This person, Jessica, has become a friend. We have been a sponsor of their events. I make no money. I get no discounts on this. If you have not been, I will tell you I did it in Phoenix last year. It was fantastic. And you get together with some really good leaders. The cost for you as an attendee is negligible. We as the sponsors spend most of the money. So that's in your packet. Please check it out and contact Jessica if it should suit you. So here we go. Here's my definition of training insanity. Give me your thought. Is it an LOL? Is it an amen? Is it an oh, come on? The training insanity is the following. Managers won't coach because why? What's number one reason why managers won't coach today? Yep, too busy, time. Oh, Nancy, I love you. I don't say that to many women except my wife. Yep, Lisa, you're right. Don't know how. So here's the training insanity. I don't have time. But guess what they say at the end of the year? Lisa, I think we need more training. By the way, I'm not going to participate. And they transfer that ownership to who? They transfer that to us. And then what I'd love to do as a training leader? I'd love to go up to a manager and say, Melanie, I know you don't have time. Let me do your end of the year review for you. Wouldn't they think we're nuts? So that's the training insanity I think we all lead with. Why managers do not coach? A lot of you put time. Let me tell you the two major reasons. They don't know what to do and they don't know what to say. The time is a smokescreen. I'll share this with you a little bit out of humor. I asked the CEO just about 2 months ago. He said, Tim, we're pretty busy. I said, oh, it's awesome. He said, we don't really have time for a coaching program. I said, oh. I said, great. I knew they had a turnover issue. I said, so who does the interviewing? He said, well, we do, the managers. I said, but you don't have any time. And he smiled at me. He said, oh, good point. And so it's a knee-jerk reaction. It's not because our managers are bad people. It's because they don't know how. They don't know what to do. And that's what today is about. Also, Miguel, I love that. They don't think they need to. So our challenge as training and learning professionals is to get them as coaching partners. And then last, I'm going to make a very bold comment to all of you. Our time has come. Unemployment is low. Talent retention is a need at an all-time high. I'm going to give you my infamous, and Lisa, for you as a friend, my all-time gospel. Our time has come. And I said to a CEO once, and this is the same CEO, training was never the problem. Technology of learning has never been the problem. The problem has always been the reinforcement. You have managers in your workforce that will, within 2 seconds, discount someone's development by calling someone into the office and saying, Lisa, I need to see you in my office right away. What's the employee's first impression? It's usually, uh-oh. But by the way, we need more training. This CEO looked at me and said, I've never had someone share it like that. So the fact of the matter is, training's never been the problem, but our time has come. We have to, right now, invest in training, reinforcement, and coaching. So the reason we do this, and I'm going to give you a little bit of concept here, is our people, our processes, our products, and our place, our culture. That's why we need training reinforcement. So again, a lot of you put in, uh-oh, what do I need to do? I'm in trouble. And so the fact of the matter is this. When we are coaching people, or when managers call people into their office and the impression is, uh-oh, and they get constructive feedback because managers really know how to fix and correct what's wrong, or point it out at least at a minimum, guess what happens to someone's ability and willingness to go back to learning? It's almost a distractor. So I'm speaking at a conference in New York here in about a month and a half, and the title is literally How Conversations Make or Break Learning Organizations. Our managers' conversations can undermine our training and learning objectives in seconds. May not be their intent, but that's why we can reverse that trend by having conversations with them of how to participate. So I am going to start to dive into the process. I'm going to be high level. and then I'm going to drill down. I will check back in with you, okay? So typically when we roll out a training program, and there's a million adaptations, I do not want to simplify or come off undermining what you're doing. So the fact of the matter is we do an assessment or a needs analysis. We put some training together, whether it's workshop or online or digital or whatever it might be. And then we roll it out, and it might be e-learning. And then when people are done, they go back to the office. And that's where things seem to stop. I come back to the office, I'm in the workshop, I just attended my online course, now I'm back at the workforce, and my manager doesn't have time, doesn't know how, and guess what happens to what I think we all do very well in this webcast? Design and deliver training and learning. So when I was at the Chief Learning Officer Conference, I was like a kid in a candy shop. Now I'm there to get leads and drum up business, right? But I walked away, I was so overwhelmed by how much I learned, and it was so cool to attend. That's why I did that Concero infomercial for you, because I wanted you to realize, you know, we live that as well, but when I sat there and I came back, everybody was talking about training. Everybody was talking about new learning platforms. And I kept thinking to myself, if we do not get our managers to become our partners, we are losing an opportunity. So here's the process I want you to think about. To get a pad of paper, and I want you to just take a step back, quit chatting. You first have to identify your learning and training objectives, okay? The second thing you have to do is for those learning objectives, I'm giving you components right now, you have to identify the tiers of learning. I will preempt some future slides. Knowledge, skill, and behavior. So number one, you're rolling out a course on negotiation skills. Number two, knowledge, what do they need to know? Skill, what do they need to be able to do? Behavior, what do they need to be able to do with confidence and conviction? Let me give you another one. You're going to roll out presentation skills for public speaking. The tiers of learning. Knowledge, how do I put together a speech? Skill, how do I practice it? How do I simulate it? Behavior, how do I stand up in front of 500 people and speak with confidence? Those are your first two components. Now I'm going to show you here in a bit what is called a coaching map. A coaching map is the output of numbers 1 and 2. It is a document you give to your manager. So let's say you're rolling out a new travel application at your organization. If you're rolling out a new proprietary construction estimating software tool. What you do is you take your training and learning objectives, and we're going to do more of a deep dive, so I'm very high level right now. Then you identify the tiers of learning. You have now started the mapping process. And then you create coaching strategies. Remember, some of you said it was time. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I would share with you more than anything, the fact of the matter is it's really the two reasons why people don't coach is they don't know how and they don't know what to do. Or they don't know what to do and they don't know what to say. A coaching map, which I'm going to show you here in a bit, gives you exactly those pieces. And then fourth, how are we going to measure if we're making success, if we're making an impact? Give me a 3, this makes sense. 2, you're getting there, Tim. 1, I'm totally confused. Awesome. Okay, mostly 3s, cool. Okay, Angela, I'll get you there. So these are just the components, very high level. Okay, keep them coming. Awesome. So, number 1, when you design your training and learning, it has to be designed with willing participants in mind to reinforce. So part of your design of your rollout of your training and learning objectives has to be in congruence with the thought of having your managers, your supervisors, your team leaders, whoever, as willing participants. You take, number two, your training and learning design to be mapped to coaching as a reinforcement strategy. So let's go back to our example of negotiation skills. How do we get that manager to ask questions, facilitate practice sessions, how to coach to reinforce behaviors of confidence? And you literally map that out specific to your training and learning objectives. Number three, you literally give the manager what to do and what to say. It's that simple. And so what you're doing, number four, is there's a passing of the ball. You're passing the ball. You're giving them coaching plans to become your reinforcement partners. Now, we are at a very tactical level, albeit 16 minutes into the webcast. The tactical part is one thing. Knowing how does not mean you have confident, skillful, willing coaches. So keep that in mind. So, I'm going to take a deep breath. We're 16 minutes in, 17 minutes in, and I want to share with you what we teach at Progress Coaching. This is not a sales pitch. So I'm coaching Lisa, her lifelong dream, and I'm going to coach her. And Lisa just went to a class in negotiation skills. And when Lisa comes back, I'm going to provide her some direct coaching. And the reason that I'm going to coach her is because I know she attended this course. I know that, quite frankly, she needs to become a better negotiator, okay? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with Lisa. I'm not giving you everything right now. I'm going to give you some of the pieces. So I might have a first conversation with Lisa. How was the training? What did you like? What did you learn about yourself you're committed to improving? See, those are the fundamental questions that our managers don't ask. And I might say, you know, Lisa, why don't we spend some time together and practice some of the things you learned in your training? Now, you ready for this? I'd like to meet with you, Lisa, maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks, and our sessions will only last 8 to 12 minutes. So when you look at the left side here from learning project, questions, activities, and learning project, that is a representation of number one in the right, your direct coaching. So I might say, Lisa, your learning project every week is to come in with one example of where you felt like you negotiated successfully, and maybe one looking back where you felt like you missed an opportunity. The learning project starts each coaching session. At the end of the coaching sessions, I'm going to ask Lisa to do the same thing. That's what facilitates true ownership and accountability. It is very, very simple to do. Now, when Lisa comes in, I'm going to ask all these great coaching questions. At Progress Coaching, we teach about 20 different questioning models. Questions build perspective. They build awareness. Now, if Lisa's reporting to me and Lisa's telling me about her negotiation and I say, oh, no, Lisa, you got to do it my way. That's not coaching. That's a directive. I have to build clarity and awareness of where Lisa has strengths and opportunities to improve. Here's the real big one. Activities. We have to position our managers to facilitate the change. Knowledge. Lisa, teach me the steps you're using to negotiate. Skill. Lisa, let's walk through that first example. Let's both play the roles of salesperson or customer service agent or whatever the function is. And what you do is you give them a conversation model. Nobody ever believes this, but when we practice the left side with our clients, nobody believes me. It takes 8 to 12 minutes. Now, the right side, you see something, number 2, called supplemental coaching. So I might say, you know, Lisa, to accelerate your comfort level, I would love to have you spend some time with Melissa, who loves the word giddy up. And I want you to spend time with Melissa, and I'd like you to interview her and what she does, and email me what you learned from Melissa and what you're committed to improving. Then I'd love to have you travel with her or observe her on the phone. And then email me 2 things Melissa does well, which does what? Trains Lisa to look for the good stuff. So I just supplemented my one-on-one coaching that came from training, because I've got a map of knowing what to do, and I just use peer-to-peer and observational coaching. So left side is a conversation model. The right side is something that people can actually supplement. And so you have to be careful. I see a lot of positive feedback in peer-to-peer. Don't just throw people together. Make sure you give them the ability to structure feedback that's done in a safe and thoughtful way. With a Y or an N, does this high level make sense? We still haven't even gotten deep into it yet. Awesome. Okay. Oh, thanks, Donna. That's nice of you to say. Okay. A lot of Y's. Good. So again, I can review. You're going to get it. As I told you, one thing I'm guilty of is I give a lot of content. So now I'm going to do a review. Remember when I said it's not linear? I want you to just get the components. You're going to take what you train, whether it's e-learning, workshops, seminars, whatever your platform of delivery is. You're going to define your training and learning objectives. There's a process that we teach called define and coach. You then, for each training and learning objective, you're going to define what's the knowledge, what's the skill, what's the behavioral attribute. Then you identify the coaching strategies that your managers can take from you and apply as a true reinforcement partner. Then what you do is you build solutions. What are you building towards? You're building towards the things you're looking at right here. I'm going to show you a coaching map here in a bit. We have built out over 1,000 coaching maps and over 240 coaching courses that are very situational. So we have a book coming out this summer, no sales pitch, but it's called Situational Coaching. The more we can position our managers situationally to know what to do and what to say, they will become more acclimated to partnering as true training reinforcement partners. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on measurement. We do a lot of work in that area, but I don't want to overload. So again, you're going to define what your training and learning objectives are for what you're training, not what we're training. You're going to define the tiers of learning. You're going to identify the coaching strategies. Let me share this with you. So when you look at one-on-one and group coaching, that is a form of direct coaching. Supplemental coaching, we teach about 8 different methods. We teach motivations and inspirations. That's our 3rd category of coaching. We teach 14 different coaching types. Most managers think coaching is one-on-one. What this does is it opens their eyes to, wow, I got a lot of flexibility. Now it can lead to some, okay, where do I start? And we help you with that. The point being, when people feel like they have choices and there's a model that allows them to have targeted time spent, they will become more willing. On top of it, if you define what they need to do and you spoon feed them, you've made their life incredibly easy. So we are 24 minutes past the hour. And for those of you, thanks, Gail. For those of you who've been on my webcast, I'm doing pretty well, aren't I? I'm an advertisement for Riddle, and I've got a big sign here that says slow down, but it's such cool stuff to teach. So I hope everybody's cool with that. So here's where, yes, Maida, I'm going to come back to that. Is that cool? Oh, thanks, Rachel. I'm going to come back to that. So now here are the key challenges. All right, we got all these great strategies. We've got these topics. I got to have managers who know how to coach. So the tough thing is you can't send someone to Russia and say, go speak Russian. And by the way, get acclimated in the culture. Whether you agree or disagree with this, just hear it for thought. Coaching is like a foreign language. I don't go home to my wife, Beth, and say, what are your thoughts on a scale of 1 to 6? 6, you're confident in going to a movie tonight, or 1, you don't want to go to a movie. I just go home and say, do you want to go to a movie? Coaching is a different language. So we have to teach our managers how to coach, much like the coaching conversation model. We've got to teach them how to practice the language. I'm going to come back to some of your questions. Your questions are great. Number 3, we have to provide support and real-world assistance. So let me do a little bit of an insertion here. Somebody just put in, and I'm checking the chat, you know, I don't oversee these people. They don't report to me. You have to coach your managers. You can't just train them. You've got to also coach them. So we have a webcast coming up June 21st. You don't train managers to coach, you coach them to coach. So keep in mind, you've got to be a partner with them, not just get them to be a willing participant. So I'll try to address that time permitted if that makes sense. Good, a lot of giddy-ups. Then you have to apply to the reinforcement areas. So if you have managers who foundationally know how to coach, they get the language, they've practiced it a little bit, they're starting to get acclimated to providing real-world application because we provide support. So one of the things that we do at our company, we have a chat line. We literally disseminate these coaching maps in seconds to our clients. I'm not selling you, I'm just positioning you that we do this and we practice what we preach. So again, let's do a quick review. Know what your choices are, define your training and learning objectives, pare them down to the tiers of learning, knowledge, skill, and behavior, identify your coaching strategies, and train and develop and mentor and coach your coaches to coach. So a combination of how to coach to this situationally, plus the development of how to coach in general, will absolutely position you to have good training partners. Sarah, I'm going to come back to that. Wow. That's a mouthful because that brings up a different derivative. So I'm going to come back to that. I'm not ignoring it. Okay, Sarah? So as we go forward, part of the challenge that we have is a lot of the questions that are coming in is, well, I don't oversee these people, or we have staff dedicated to coaching. How can we partner with managers and not just them pass it off? That's a risk. So part of the questions could be, well, Sarah, I know that you have staff dedicated to coaching. How do you think we could successfully engage together as a united front to model the coaching that our dedicated staff are exhibiting? So part of those questions frame out the partnering. Hopefully, Sarah, that just somewhat addressed your question. So part of it is tactical. Part of it is you're coaching the coach. You're coaching the manager to coach. You're coaching the director to partner so his or her managers or supervisors become coaches. So the other thing is you got to have metrics. I'm not going to dive a lot into this. Some of the work we do with clients is give us your engagement study. We'll map out a coaching strategy. We just created over 80 different mini coaching assessment instruments for employee self-ratings. We also have practice modules for coaching that are scored and also knowledge tests. So keep in mind what's your training and learning objective and how could we measure that? So, oh, my timing is awesome. So we're at about the halfway point, okay? I got everyone's permission, I think. So I'm going to do a little bit of an update. If you notice in our chat at the start, I put in a couple links. I'm going to just cover it briefly. Give me one word that describes the webcast so far. This is something called a behavioral indicator question. Just give me one word that would describe the webcast. Debbie, I'll slow down. So for some of you who put interesting, would that be good interesting or just neutral interesting? Donna, is that a good teaser or a bad teaser? So what you're hearing me do is ask questions that, okay, good, cool. When you ask a behavioral indicator question, it's an awesome question because it gives you an indication of how people are feeling about your content. And if there's content that or feedback that you get that says interesting, that's neutral. If people say, oh, it's great, then you know you're doing pretty well. If someone says neutral, okay, I'm going to zero in on that person. Or if someone says frustrating, so that's the idea. It's a great thing to do in your training sessions as well. So when I teach coaching, I always break it up that way and teach it that way. So What I'm also going to do real quick is I want to just share with you very quickly, and I said I was going to do this at the halfway point, and that is just going to get rid of this just for a quick second. So this is, let me just turn on the share. Don't worry, I haven't lost you. So what you're looking at here is something that there's a link, and I'm going to put this link. And so this is our full-blown course, our virtual training. This is training reinforcement is the missing piece, how to build the bridge with coaching. We literally help you develop your materials, develop your questions. We literally take a topic that you're teaching. We literally teach you, much like your questions, how to coach them to coach versus training managers to just coach. And then we teach you how to build coaching maps, which I'm going to show you here in a second. So I'm going to just put that in the chat very quickly, and then I am done. So that is the program. Here is the very, very cool thing that we do. At the bottom, we will train, if you can see here, I'm highlighting, we will train 2 of your managers at no cost as part of this fee. The fee is significantly less. It is a 4-week course with 4 live sessions, with workbooks, but also 4 reinforcement courses with 12 months of unlimited coach to coach. Plus, we will train 2 of your managers at no cost. You've got the link. I am done. Cool? So I'm coming back, and I would really encourage you to check it out because we're literally taking what we're doing here today, and we're actually walking you through the process of how to do it germane to your real world. So what I'm about to show you is our progress coaching training course. One would think, well, wait a minute, this is a sales pitch. I'm done selling. The reason I show this, this is the model of what we know that works. So I'm not going to go through all of this, but number 2, we actually teach employees how to seek and receive coaching and feedback. Number 3, we have an online course where we teach supervisors, team leaders, managers, directors, coaching. And you see 14 different coaching methods, the tiers of learning. And then we show up and do this best practice where we practice. And then number 5, we have reinforcement training and learning. And that comes in this form. So these little blue boxes are courses. The red icons are where we do strategy and practice sessions. Now, the reason I show this to you isn't to sell you. It's to show you that it takes a thoughtful effort. All of this is customized to clients. But we cannot just train managers to coach in a one-time sitting or an online course. People have to practice. What we find is managers will become willing participants based on 2 things. 1, privacy. If I can work with someone privately to deal with my stuff, I'm in. Number 2, if you will deal with my real-world stuff, I become much more of a willing participant. So the reason I show this to you isn't to sell you, but to show you the lengths we go to accomplish that. So our reinforcement are webcasts, one-on-one, practice sessions, courses that you can see. We have downloadable assignments, and we do that because this is a shift in their thinking. It's just easier to tell people what to do than coach and ask questions. So that takes time. And Matteo, absolutely. You cannot arbitrarily improve what you don't practice, okay? So part of today, and some of you just brought into the Q&A, well, wait a minute, these people don't report to me. What do I do when a manager pawns these people off on me? So I'm going to ask everybody to do me a big favor. Don't chat. Just hear what I'm about to say. Salespeople, sales leaders, what do they really, really want? What does a sales leader, VP of sales, what does he or she want? What does this, yeah, Gil, absolutely. More sales. You think they want to spend a full day with Tim Hagen as a coach? Not a chance. They want to improve margins, handle objections. That's your key. So what I want to do right now is give you a quick review. One, you've got the components, right? Training and learning objectives. We're going to map it to this thing called coaching strategies. We're going to build coaching maps. You, as a training professional, have to become skilled as a coach. Here's why. When I sit down with a company, and I'll use my example, I just did one on coaching sales teams to better objection handling. See, I don't care what the topic is. We can teach the coaching. But I said to this VP of sales, and I said, so I got to ask you something. What's the thing that's hindering you guys from having success? He said, margins. I said, okay, how would you tie that into performance? He said, what do you mean? I said, okay, your margins are low. He goes, well, we just don't negotiate. I said, so would you mind if I ask you a question? I said, how have you gone about defining successful negotiating? Anybody get where I'm going? He didn't have the answers. Great guy, by the way. And I just asked him a define and coach question. Can you define for me how to negotiate successfully? He said, well, what we expect from our people. And I said, well, Bob, back up a sec. That's not what I asked you. What I asked you is, do you have it documented? Do you know what people should be doing? He said, no, I guess we kind of hire people with those requisite skills. Anybody hear where this is going? And I said, well, let me ask you this. What's the current state? He said, Tim, our margins are down 7-8 points. I said, so what you shared with me, what's inhibiting, hopefully you see what I'm doing. I'm going right across this diagram. I said, so when you say negotiating, how do you think, if you had to describe how they handle negotiating or handle competitor price objections? He goes, I don't think we do at all. I said, well, what's the expectation? He said, boy, you ask a lot of questions. And I said, well, I'm just wondering if you're holding people accountable that's arbitrarily in your head and you haven't really described it. So ideally, what would you like them to be able to do? What would you like them to say at the moment of getting an objection? What would you like them to do specifically, step by step, for negotiating? And he said, boy, yeah, we got to itemize that. Do you know what I'm doing? I am not seeking buy-in for coaching. There is no buy-in. They're coaching every single day. Sometimes they're coaching just mediocrity because they're not really coaching. The point being, our managers have to reinforce our training to get the fullest capability. And so what we do is we say, well, what if there were a way for us to get you to the ideal state, but I'd like you to also partner, Bob. He goes, oh, I'm in. This is great. He doesn't even know what his participation is yet. Now, I know that comes off a little bit arrogant, and the reason I share that with you is the first 20 minutes of the meeting, oh, my gosh, not a chance in heck this guy was going to entertain doing anything with coaching. So don't fight on the merits of training and the value of training. We already know there's value. The reason their walls are high has nothing to do with their value. It has everything to do with their insecurities centered around, I don't know what to do and I don't know what to say. Yeah, Kelly, that is awesome. Kelly, can I read that to everybody? Because that is really well put. Too often we see that standards are not truly defined because it is expected for the skill set or the prerequisite to meet a standard that in actuality doesn't exist. You cannot inspect what you do not expect. We actually do work with people on their corporate values and principles. Do you know how many people at an executive level have different interpretations of what trust means? Think of that. So what I want you to think about is you've got the components, training and learning, output to knowledge, skill, and behavior. Then I'm going to map to this cool thing called a strategy. Your third element is, how do I coach the manager to coach? How do I coach upper level management to support the coaching? You have to become a skilled coach. And ultimately, that will serve you very well. Thanks, Kelly. You cannot inspect what you do not expect. So, what we do, you have choices. Do we do workshops? ICP is what I showed you in our diagram. It's an individual coaching plan. We take coaching guides down to questions. workshops, custom development, internal development services. We do all sorts of things for our clients. Now, the reason I share that with you isn't to sell you, but I show it so people know that there are choices. It's not one size fits all. So think about that as you go forward. So what I'm going to do very quickly, I want to show you what a coaching map looks like. Of course, now I don't have it down. Give me 2 seconds here. Oh, here we go. Give me 2 seconds. Oh, here we go. So can everybody see this coaching map at the top? Just give me a quick Y, just so I have it. Awesome. So if you notice, we have, like for time management, we have punctuality, late, managing time, avoiding disruptions. So what we do is we list the challenge or performance area. We have a suggested strategy. We give you the exact questions. We give you the exact activities. Remember that 4-step model? Hopefully you're seeing some consistency here. We give you suggested learning projects. And then typically we give you 1 or 2 supplemental coaching strategies. So the documents are no more than about 2 to 3 pages. That's what a coaching map is. Now, we also build guides that can be 20 to 30 pages. Corporate values tied to your sales process, your customer service process, all unique to you. What is so cool about that is that, and we are going to be sending this out. So Sarah, I'll get that to you. And so the idea behind this is you've got to have, and Sarah just said it, it's got to be a template. You've got to be able to have a framework to do that. I'm going to sell. That's why you should sign up for that workshop online. We walk you through, we give you all these tools, but the cool thing is, once you spoon feed a manager of what to do and say, that's part of the equation. It doesn't have to be ours, certainly I hope it is, but it doesn't have to be our system, but then you got to train them in how to coach. See, if you can provide them a map of where to go, they'll get in the car and drive. But when we ask people to coach, sometimes we're asking them to get in the car and they don't know where they're going. I know that's kind of a weird analogy. So hopefully that made sense to you. Okay, cool. So let me, isn't that cool what we just did? Yeah, thanks, Sarah. I think that's a compliment. Cool. So you have choices. Let me share something with you. I am working with a company right now who has no sales process, no clue where sales strengths or areas to improve exist. We are creating a define and coach. We're dissecting their sales process and creating a coaching guide and course. We have a company who has very unique specific leadership principles. We are creating group coaching sessions, an online course specific to this marketing organization's leadership principles. We're also giving them a corporate principle coaching guide. What are we using? The framework of the coaching maps. We're working with a call center in the Southwest, taking all of their call center procedures and policies and developing more cross-selling and staff development for success planning. What are we doing? We're having the managers go through our ICP program, customize them with a coaching guide and course customized to them. We actually are working with a Wisconsin manufacturing company that has very specific policies and procedures, and we meet with them bi-weekly, one-on-one with their target coaching candidates, and we use mini assessments all along the way. Some of that doesn't make sense to any of you. I get it. But what you're seeing at the bottom isn't one program size fits all. What I'm doing is what I'm teaching to you. I'm mapping. All I'm doing is grabbing pieces we've either built or I will build them for them. I'm not saying you got to hire us, but I can teach you how to do that. The cool thing about this, all 4 of these people, when we first met with them, they were somewhat interested parties. I mean, great people. But remember, the business imperative, you have to coach to it. A sales leader does not want to sit in a coaching session with Tim Hagen or you for that matter. They do want higher margins. They do want to offset price objections better. They do want more confident selling people. And what you have to do through the art of coaching is align yourself with your internal customers. So, the mapping choices could be peer-to-peer, groups, could be questions, activities, learning projects, your maps. We teach something called self-directed learning coaching groups, peer-to-peer group coaching. The cool thing about what we teach is gives you choices, which allows you to design situationally. So why, and I'm sure some of you are thinking, holy crap, is this guy like this all the time? This is the stuff that I love, because I will tell you this right now. The reason why we do all of this is so we can position our people, our managers, to have conversations that are not only inspiring and motivating, but supportive of our training and learning objectives. That should get a few amens. Because if everybody gets called into the office and we all agree it's typically, uh-oh, what did I do wrong? The reason that occurs is because we've conditioned that behavior. Yes, Gail, we do. We do teach it to coaching to L&D staff as a train the trainer. Yes, we do, Gail. I didn't want to turn that into a sales pitch. I'm just checking questions. But we do that, okay? And the fact of the matter is, I don't think our managers are bad people. But what they do is a defense mechanism. The reason they say we need more training is because I don't want to be responsible for this, because holy crap, I don't know the language of coaching. I don't know what to do with someone near retirement. Oh my gosh, these millennials are coming. They're awful people. That was humor, people. I like millennials and I don't mind retired people. So the fact of the matter is we've got to position them. But if we can position them in alignment with our training and learning objectives, okay, and we can map what they need to do, and I'm going to say it, it's not a very academia term, dummy-proof it for them and teach them, they're going to start to experience the value of coaching, and then they become more valuable participants. Cool? So, we're not done. Review. Define your training and learning objectives. Map that to the tiers of learning, knowledge, skill, and behavior. Make coaching easy for your managers. Where there's resistance, you're going to have to coach your managers to coach. Does that make sense to everybody? Giddy up. So, I'm not going to go through this all again, and I have this here by design. Think about your sales department. Think about leadership. If you have a call center, if you have new supervisors, if you have an emerging leadership program, all of this is applicable. So a couple people asked questions, and I apologize because I don't like when people do this. All of these things are the questions that we're asking. Yeah, Silke, I'm not sure I'm saying your name right, but absolutely. You know, we have a Train the Trainer program. We work with training departments. We'll even build the materials for you. We'll even teach you how to do the materials, which is that workshop I pointed out before. We'll even coach people directly as partners for you. There's a lot of ways we work with people. So, you know, reach out to us. I don't want to use this as a platform to address those things. But just realize internally, if you have your training and learning objectives and you can get willing participants and you have the VP of sales, and ladies, you love this. If it's a male, you know, the alpha male in sales become your biggest partner, most of the times our worst advocates for stuff like this become our best partners. You get the head of sales who's typically been resistant, whether it's sales, customer service, manufacturing, wow, you've hit a home run. So again, what are the business imperatives? What is each manager dealing with? What's their current state? Identify the gaps. Now the gaps could be knowledge, skill, and behavior. So I just had a customer service group tell me, you know, we're having a lot of product returns. We had a malfunction, and our agents are just lacking confidence in dealing with angry customers. You can guess what I did. Well, Rachel, what's the process you want them to use to address angry customers? Customer service director couldn't answer it. Well, what we don't want them to do, I said, it's not what I asked you. What I asked you is, what do you want them to do? So a lot of times we have these bullet items, like listening and communication and cold calling in our job descriptions, but it doesn't really define the expectation and the actions that support the definition. That's exactly what defining coach is. So, remember the process at the start? What are your training and learning objectives? Map it to the tiers of learning, knowledge, skill, and behavior. Map it to the coaching strategies, and then ultimately measure them. So don't log off, or I don't send you the recording, and I do check. So what I'd like you to think about is asking any questions that you may have, and I'll address them. A couple people brought up some of the things about people who don't directly report to you. Get above those people and create coaching partners through the art of the coaching conversation. So a lot of times when we talk about coaching upward, it's not about giving feedback, but it's embracing the coaching process to create partnerships. Number two, if you have people or people that are coaching people that don't directly report to them, part of the thing you can do something called co-authorship. So let's say Miguel is coaching me and I don't report to Miguel and I don't really have to listen to him. Miguel could literally say, Tim, how can we be on the same page together? I have a responsibility, you have a responsibility. What could we do together to share in that experience, even though you don't report to me? What are you willing to do, and what's the most plausible, comfortable way for us to engage through coaching? And what you do is you pull in the recipient, and it's called co-authoring. You co-author the relationship before you have to coach them. It is very, very cool. Let me know if people like that. Yeah, oh boy. I'm not a lean person, so let me just be very clear. So lean is tough because I'm not going to profess to be an answer. Let me come back to that. I just lost that question, by the way. When you say training and learning software, what are you talking about, Katie? Yes, Roger, coaching up. Love it. So coaching up is about, so Roger, you just became the president of my company. Coaching up is not about complaining and giving feedback because Roger's doing a terrible job. My job, and we have a whole program called Coaching Upward. My job is to make Roger become aware and visible to things coming down. Now, let's say I think Roger's, nuts. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what's about to hit us. My job is not to criticize Roger. My job is to say, Roger, could I have your permission? Could I have your permission to provide some insight of some things you may or may not know is coming, because I don't want you to get blindsided. See, we think coaching upward is about telling someone what they're doing wrong. No, it's about a conversation of providing visibility and insight. Even though we might agree they don't know what's going on, that's not our role. No job description says, make sure your boss knows what he or she's doing. So what you do is you have that conversation upward. Roger, let me know if that makes sense. Yeah, Katie, there's a number of tools that you can use to host training videos, and I'll get you those. I'm just scrolling through. Oh, cool. Awesome, Spencer. Yeah, yeah, Diane, you're somewhat managing up, but you're really having conversations upward. Roger, thanks. Thanks, Sarah. Appreciate you doing that. Cool. I'm looking at the questions, so I'm going to take all of these out. Let me do a little bit, if you wouldn't mind. Let me just get to this quickly, and let me do a new share here. So again, whoop, wrong one. So I would encourage all of you to check out this program. And the reason being is this is exactly what we do. And I'll get to that in a second. Really consider this program again. It is exactly what we do, is exactly what we covered today, but we do it with, it's 4 live sessions with reinforcement. It's all recorded, and we train 2 of your managers at no cost. So give some thought to that. Sure, Becca, self-directed learning coaching is where you might say, we have some problems with time management. And time management might be where you have them read the 7 highly effective habits, and they give you an email summary. Or they could practice on their own and actually evaluate themselves. So self-directed learning is predicated upon coaching being done on their own, where they coach themselves. It's great for emotional intelligence and self-awareness. Yes. Awesome. Thanks, Becca. And feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to walk you through it. Roger, yes. I will send a sample coaching plan. I'll give you a guide for one of our clients, which is to their values and principles, if that's cool with you. I'd be happy to do that. So, awesome, cool. So sorry, I know I can come off a little bit scrambled. Let me just close out with a little video. The reason I do my webcasts the way I do them is I want to keep you engaged. I want you to make sure you get content. I really hope this was worth your time. So I'm going to go through the chat. I will get you guys the information. I am going on vacation tomorrow, but I, of course, as a flaky entrepreneur, I'm working. But if you take your training and learning, if you define it, and part of what I want you to think about is what is that output? How do I make that easy for the manager? But don't forget, you got to train them on how to coach, and you got to coach them to coach. If you do that and you push that upward and have them receive those maps or whatever you decide to do, guess what happens? They become great training reinforcement partners. Now, the bad news, you can't train them Tuesday. They're not your best partners by Thursday. It certainly takes time. So, oh, Roger, thanks. Cool. Oh, sure, Paul, I'd be happy to share that with you. So we teach 5 words when we coach. We share opportunity, perspective, and observation. So you can use the same thing. And let me just do one thing real quick. For some of these requests that you guys have, do me a favor. Send me an email. Let me move my big head out of the way. Send me an email. Don't just put it in the chat. You know, tim@progresscoachingleader.com, because the chat can be a little bit cumbersome to go through. So if you can email me, that'd be great. But the words are we share opportunity, perspective. And the way you use those is to, you know, Roger, I think we have an awesome opportunity to really create greater teamwork. And I'd love your permission to share with you some perspectives that I think might be coming down the road, but I don't want you to be blindsided. Those 5 words really, 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 really help people have really constructive coaching conversations. So I think that's what you were alluding to. Awesome. Let me. Cool. So send me an email. Oh, Becca, you should tell them that because you know I do work with them. Awesome. So I am going to get you all the recording. Please reach out to us. Please check out the workshop. I'm selling. I know it. I don't even like this part of my job. But it is such a cool thing. And if you have some of those managers, we don't need a full-blown program. If you've got some managers that are struggling, have them reach out to us. We'll work with 1 or 2 managers. We've got a whole team of coaching strategists now that work directly with managers. We'd be happy to help you. So I hope this is worth it. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Mayday. Christopher, we share opportunity perspective. We share opportunity perspective and observation. Send me an email. It's actually a really cool lesson. Otherwise, everybody, you have a great Memorial Day, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody.